Good evening, students. This is a special sprint for the NEET exam. As you know that the JEE Main has eventually started, so the NEET will also start at the scheduled time when the date has been given. Obviously, it will start on that day. Now, see, through some questions in this my first sprint for the NEET, I'm guiding you that how the questions are different from the JEE. Like usually in the NEET exam, the questions are, there are some questions which are theoretical, and even there are questions which need some calculations. They don't take much time. They are either they can be done in one step or in the two steps. So through the examples have been taken from the previous year papers itself. I not only tell you that what is the generally what is the objective of the examiner, what is the towards what kind of problems is the attention of the examiner, and how the pattern is gradually changing or bring into your focus all those changes through some of the papers of the past years and very recent past years. And through the examples, I'll try to tell you how to solve those questions quickly. So see, one question is that there is a spring force constant K. There is a spring force constant K, and this is cut into lengths of ratio 1 to, this cut into 3 parts which are in the ratio 1, ratio 2, ratio 3. Now the question is what? The 3 parts, then these 3 parts are connected in series. First, they are connected in series, then they are connected in parallel, You have to calculate that what will be the ratio of the K for them. In this case, K1, in this case, K2. So what will be the ratio of K1 by K2 you have to calculate. So one thing, you see how it can take some more, how can it take more time? Like someone calculates that what will be the, there are 3 parts K1, K2, K3. There are 3 parts. Say I write that this is K dash, this K double dash. And these 3 parts have the force constant K1, K2, K3. Is that clear? You know the fact that in parallel, the formula for the K is what? K1 plus K2 plus K3. And in series it is what? 1 by K is equal to 1 by K1 plus 1 by K2 plus 1 by K3. Is that clear? Now see how to calculate K1. To calculate the K1, the K of that part whose ratio is what? 1. It is this is the basic. What you have to do, look at this, that this part is the what fraction of the whole spring constant. This is the 6th fraction, like 1, 2, 3. So this is what it is, the 6th fraction of the 1/6 fraction of the length of the spring. So its force constant K1 will be what? 6K. This is what it is, a 1/3 fraction of the whole of the length of the string. It's what? 2. So this is what 2 is, what it is, the 1/3 of the length of the 1/3 fraction of the length. So its force constant K2 will be what? Reciprocal of that, that is what? It will be 3K. And this is what it is, the half of the length. So its force constant K3 will be what? It will be reciprocal of that, that is what? 2K. Now see how can you say the calculation? Though we know the formula for the series combination is this, but see when you combine them in series, the original spring is made, so that force constant becomes what? In series it becomes K itself. Because you cut them, then you connected them in series, so only the original spring is made, so the force constant will become what? K. When they are connected in parallel, the force constant becomes what? 6 plus 3, that is 9 plus 2, so this is what? 11K. So the ratio becomes what? The ratio becomes 1 by 1 is to 11 or 1 by 11. Now I give you one more example. The example is, it is question number 2. See, the question number 2 is the two nearest harmonics of a closed tube at one end and at the end open at the other end are 220 Hz and 260 Hz. There is a closed tube. According to them, there is a closed tube. In the closed tube, there are two harmonics. harmonics. The frequency of one harmonic is 220 Hertz. And the frequency of another harmonic nu is what? It is 260 Hertz. This is what? 260 Hertz. And they say they are two closest harmonics. They say that they are the open at the other end, 200 Hertz, 220 Hertz, and the 260 Hertz. And they are these are the nearest harmonics. Nearest harmonics means what? Nearest harmonics means there will be no harmonic in between them. Now see, what you know about the closed tube is that the harmonics are in the integral, they are what? Odd multiple of the fundamental frequency. Suppose the fundamental frequency is nu naught, then an odd number will be multiplied here, odd number, and you'll get the different number of harmonics. Like if I multiply here 3, that will be the third harmonic. I multiply it with 5, that will be what? That will be the fifth harmonic. So now, what you have to see that what is the one number whose integral multiple, whose odd multiple becomes these two numbers and they are closest also. Look at this. If I take that this number is what? The options in the question are 20, 30, 40 and 20. Look at this. This number 220 is not a multiple of what? 40. This number is, though this number is also not multiple of 40. So see the options which are given 30. One option is what? One option is 20. Now see for the 20. If I take 20, this becomes what? 20 into 11. 20 into 11 becomes what? 220. And 20 into 13 becomes what? 260. And after the 11, the odd number that will come, that will be what? 13 only. That means these becomes two closest harmonics if the fundamental frequency is what? It's 20 Hertz. So means what? You see, if you make the equations and make this in that way you find the solution, it could be a bigger solution. What you have to do, usually why I'm giving you these examples, I just want to show you that there are many questions out of 45 which are directly based upon some fundamentals. If you know them, apply a little bit logic, you'll have the minimum calculation and you'll get to the solution. That will take less time. Because see, to solve 45 questions in 45 questions in 60 minutes. So that means you get almost 25 to 30 questions. You can solve them by simple logic and very simple calculation. Then only you can reach up to the 45 questions and you can get a very, very respectable score. So look at this. Once again I repeat that. What you have to apply here, it's a closed pipe. So in the closed pipe, you know that harmonics are what? They are the odd multiple of fundamental frequency. And as they say, these are two nearest harmonics. That means there is no other harmonic in between them. If there is no harmonic in between them, that means what? There is a fundamental frequency. When you multiply that fundamental frequency with one odd number, you'll get this, and the next odd number, you'll get this. And the first option is what? It was 20. It was 20, so both the conditions were satisfied that 20 becomes a fundamental frequency. This is number 11. When you multiply that with the 11, you get this. When you multiply that with 13, you get what? 260. So this is the answer, that fundamental frequency will be what? It will be 20. Now see question number 3. Now see question number 3 is you have two rods A and B of different materials which are welded together as shown in the figure. These are two rods. They have been welded like this, see. And temperature at one end is, the thermal conductivities are K1 and K2. Thermal conductivity of A is K1 and that of B is what? It's K2. Temperature at one end is T1, temperature at the other end is what? T2. Temperature at one end is T1 and the temperature at the other end is T2. Now they're asking what? They're asking that what will be the thermal conductivity? The thermal conductivity of the composite rod. Thermal conductivity of the composite say one thing, that when the examiner give you that the temperature at this end is T1, temperature at this end is T2, maybe what comes in your mind that T1 and T2 may also play some role. No, it's not. Why they give the temperature at this end, temperature at this end? They just want to tell you that heat is flowing along this direction. So, based upon that heat is flowing in what direction, what you can decide? You can decide that the two conductors are in series or in parallel. And here also, it's a very simple question in which you have to apply just the basic equation. The thermal conductivity, thermal resistance RTH is equal to what? L upon K. Here's what? L upon K. So what you have to do, find the thermal resistance of this one, R1. That becomes L upon what? K1A. Its area of cross section A. The thermal resistance of this R2. R2 becomes what? L upon K2 into A. So you see, because both are in parallel, if temperature of this end is given, temperature of this end is given, that means heat is either flowing along this direction or flowing along this direction, depending upon whichever is greater, T1 or T2. Is that clear? So now these are two in parallel. If they give you the temperature of this end, temperature of this end, in that case, you see heat will flow along this direction and they become what? In series. Then they'll be in what series? So this was given only you to decide that both are in what? They are in parallel. Because they are in parallel, so find out the equivalent resistance. 1 by R equals to what? 1 by R equals to 1 by R1. So 1 by R1 becomes K1A by L plus 1 by R2. 1 by R2 is what? It's K2A by L. It is this. And you see, if equivalent thermal conductivity is K, which you have to find. What you have to find, the equivalent thermal conductivity is K, then the resistance of this entire piece becomes what? R becomes equal to L by K. So you keep this value here. In place of R, you keep what? L by K. So that becomes KA upon what? L. All the L, they get cancelled. A, they also get cancelled. And K becomes equal to what? K1 plus K2. So that was a simple question. Means what? Rather wasting time in what the temperature, you calculate the rate of flow and all. So get to know the basic thing that needed to get the very high score in physics paper in NEET exam is what? That you need not to go for the very tougher kind of concepts. But what the basics you know, those basics should be very clear in terms of applying them in a very concrete manner. So here also what you need to know is what is the formula for the thermal resistance. Then thermal resistance is when connected in series and in parallel. The formula is what? R equals to R1 plus R2 and 1 by R equals to what? 1 by R1 plus 1 upon R2. Is that clear? Now see, the question number 3. The question number 3 of this sprint is, it is a capacitor is charged by a battery. The battery is removed and another identical uncharged capacitor is connected in parallel. So one capacitor is charged with a battery. Suppose this is charged with a battery of voltage V. Once it is charged, the battery is removed and another identical uncharged capacitor is connected in parallel. Once you charge it, suppose this becomes positive, this becomes negative, another identical capacitor is charged connected in its parallel. Now the question is the total electrostatic energy result of the resulting system. The total electrostatic energy of the resulting system. So see, there could be number of ways that what will be the common voltage, what will be the this thing, that thing. But what you need to know is, because see, charge will remain continuous. Because see, charge is not going out of the system, this becomes the entire system. And what will be the charge on it? When you connected this capsule with this battery C and B, is that clear? So the total electrostatic energy of resulting system, the options are like what? Decreases by a factor 2, increases by a factor this thing, that thing. So let's calculate what was the initial energy. Initial energy was half CV square. Because see, the parameters C and B are not given in the option and they will not be needed. You can definitely, because the kind of options are, I'll read the options. First of all, let me tell you, this is the initial energy, half CV square. Now when you have to calculate that what is the final energy of the system. So final energy of the system becomes what? you have to remember what? I'm telling you to avoid the not necessary calculation that will increase your speed. When you know the fact that when there is nothing connected from outside, the total charge of the system remains what? Constant. Like there is a system, you connect them with the capacitors only, no other battery is connected from it, because see when a battery is connected from it, battery either supplies the charge, battery either withdraws the charge, so in that case the charge of the system changes. Now here charge remains constant, so when you calculate the final energy, finally U2 becomes what? Final energy U2 becomes half Q square by C. Calculate by what? Half Q square by C. So Q of the system initially was CV, so that remains same CV. So C square V square upon what? 2C, because they are in parallel, so capacity becomes what? 2C. So this becomes C, it is half of, this is what? Half of C square into what? 1 by 2. It is what? This was half C square. And by seeing the options, I'm keeping the U2 in this form, half C square into half. Because see the options are like what? First option is decreases by a factor 2. And when you saw this, yes, you found that it decreases by a factor 2, because this has become what? It has become half of the initial. So the first option itself was, that option was correct. Now see the question number 4. You see the question number 4 is, the resistance of a wire is R ohms, it is melted and stressed to n times its original length, its new resistance will be. So original resistance is what? It's R. It is melted and stressed to n times its original length. आपने सी क्या किया? Its length was L and n times of the length, L dash becomes what? N. So you have to calculate the new resistance will be. You see initially R equals what? It is rho L by A. R equals what? Rho L by A. A is the area of cross section. So initial volume is what? A. This is the initial volume of the material. When you melt it and stretch it into some other wire, its volume will remain what? Constant. So volume remains constant, area A dash into what? NL. Area A dash into L dash becomes what? NL. So you get the value of A dash equals what? A dash is AL by what? N. A dash becomes what? AL, I'm sorry, that becomes A by N, because L and L will be cancelled. So see, R dash becomes equal to what? Rho NL upon what? A dash. So A dash will become what? A by N. This is what? A by N. So this becomes rho L by A, and you see that this is what? N square times of the original resistance. So the initial resistance was R0, original resistance was R. So the final resistance becomes what? N square R, and the option B was the correct option, that is N square R. So here also, you just, what is the concept that? Its volume will remain constant, because when you melt it, stretch it, the volume will remain constant, and eventually in all such questions what you have to do, R equals to rho L by A. So there are two variables L and A, but because the volume B is constant, so by keeping the volume constant, you can convert it into one variable. You can convert that into what? One variable. Like see, I replace the value of what? A, area, in terms of length L. In terms of what? Length L. So you can convert that into one variable, and you can get what is the change in the value of resistance. Now see one more question. You see the question is that in a YDSC, Young's double set experiment, this is the question number 4. So see the question number 4 is, in a YDSC, Young's double set experiment is performed, the YDSC performed in the air and then in medium other than air. It is found that the 8th bright fringe in the medium lies where 5th bright fringe in the air. The refractive index of the medium is nearly. What they say? The 8th bright fringe lies where there was 5th bright fringe in the air. I repeat that. What they say? The 8th bright fringe lies where there was fifth bright fringe, there was fifth bright fringe in the air. मतलब what? When it was the air, medium was the air, in what place the fifth bright fringe was there, at that place the eighth bright fringe lies there. Now see, one fringe width is what? W in the air, same bright fringe, the same fringe width in the medium will be what? W by mu. This will be W by mu. Is that clear? Now see, the thickness of 5 bright fringes in air will be what? 5W, and in the same thickness the 8 bright fringes are coming in the medium. So 8 into W dash equals what? 5W. That means this becomes mu equals what? 8 by 5. So 8 by 5 means what? It's 1 point what? 1.6. This becomes the reflective index. So the, but you see, let me see it again. That means what they must have done, because see, there is no option like 1.6. That means what they would have done, they would have done that fifth bright fringe means n equals what? Let me check it. Like see, because it's not given that here. It is about the central maximum, means central maximum has been included or central maximum has not been included. Because see, what we know, if the central maximum is a separate maximum, means we call that n equals 0 is the central maximum, then n equals 1 is what? N equals 1 is the first maximum. N equals second is what? That is the second maximum. So if it is in that way that central maximum has been separated, then fifth means what? How many fringes? After, like central maximum, then the first maximum, then the second maximum, then fifth maximum will be what? It will be on 5W. It will be what? 5W. But see, if they say that the central maximum is the first maximum, central maximum is what? It is the first maximum. In that case, it will be what? 4W. Fifth maximum will be what? Fifth maximum will be where n equals what? 4, so 4W. That equals what? It will be equal to, in place of 8 will be what? 7W by mu. So that becomes that mu equals to 7 by 4. So 7 by 4 becomes 1 point, and this will be 3, so that will be 7, 1.7 something. So yes, the one option is given as what? 1.78, so that will be the correct option. So let me tell you this question clearly, and you should remove this confusion from the beginning and right now. See, what is the terminology is that if they say that central maximum, they name that central maximum, then they call first maximum, second maximum, third maximum. Then when you keep n equals to 5, you get the fifth maximum. But if they say central maximum is the first maximum, means they don't keep n equals 0, they say what? Central maximum is the first maximum, then the fifth maximum will be there where n equals what? 4. So usually from this answer, it's clear that they follow what? They follow the NCERT pattern in answering. Because see, in the NCERT, what pattern has been followed? When they say fifth maximum, then it is what? N equals to 4. But see, very often in the competitive exams, I have seen that in the JEE and even in the NEET also, when they refer that, they term like central maximum. Means the name of central maximum is separately given as central maximum. They don't call that that is the maximum of what? N equals to 1. In that case, fifth maximum means what? N equals to 5. But because see here, there is no talk about central maximum, so yes, it should have been like that only. There is no talk about central maximum, so that means what? N equals to 1 is the first maximum, which is at the center. N equals to 2, N equals to 3, N equals to 4. So that means where you will be getting what? Fifth maximum. So because at the center is the first maximum, so at n equals 4, you'll get the fifth maximum. Is that clear? Now see the question number 5. See the question number 5, we have, it is, there is a question related to the Doppler's effect, two cars moving in the opposite direction approach each other with velocity 22 meter per second and 16.5 meter per second. 22 meter per second and 16.5 meter per second. These are two cars, meter per second. They are moving towards each other. They are approaching towards each other. The driver of the first car blows a horn having a frequency of 400 Hz. The driver of this car blows a horn of frequency 400 Hz. The frequency heard by the driver of the second car is velocity of the sound is going to be 340 meter per second. This is what 340 meter per second. What you have to find is what is the velocity, what is the frequency heard by the driver of the second car. Frequency heard by the driver of the second car. So you see, it's a simple thing that this becomes the source and this becomes what? Observer. Now see, frequency nu is equal to nu naught, the original frequency, V plus minus Vu. How do you do the plus minus Vu? How do you take the, there's a velocity of sound, plus minus Vu. Will you take plus sign or the minus sign? It depends upon what? Look at this. This is the observer. An observer is approaching towards the source. So in the numerator you have what? Plus Vo. Now in the denominator, V, velocity of sound, now plus minus. Because see, source is approaching towards the observer. Source is approaching towards the observer, so it will be what? Minus of velocity of source. So this becomes nu naught is 400, the original frequency, into velocity of sound is 340. So 340 plus what? 16.5, the velocity of observer, divided by 340 minus the velocity of source, that is what? 22. You'll get the answer. Here's the answer. So usually I have seen that in the Doppler's effect, generally is what you should know very well, that the frequency observed equals to frequency heard equals to what? Nu naught, the original frequency, multiplied by what? V plus minus Vo upon V plus minus Vs. So you should know very well that how to take the sign convention. One thing. Second thing, let's see, suppose if in any case you find that the velocity of the source or the observer, they are not along the line joining them, any of the velocity is in some other direction. Then you do what? You take the component of velocity which is along the line joining them. You take the component of velocity which is along the line joining them. Then in that case you take only the component of velocity which is along the line joining them. And one more thing, I'm telling you all kind of variations that have been asked in the NEET exam in the past years related to the Doppler's effect. One more thing what you have to do, let's suppose the sound source travels towards a wall or travels towards a hill. Then suppose the sound source is what? It's a car. So the driver of the car blows the horn of some frequency. One sound pulse that he hears is what? One sound pulse that he hears is the original sound, and the other pulse that he heard is what? Other pulse is the pulse that is reflected from the wall. So what will be the number of beats observed by him? So एक पे जो nu naught original frequency है, that will be heard by him. The second will be what? In such case, the wall becomes the observer first, and the car becomes what? Source. Take that wall is the observer and car is the source. Then calculate that what will be the frequency received by the wall. Because car is moving towards the wall, so car is the source, wall is the observer, which is stationary. Calculate what is the frequency received by the wall. Now there is no change in the frequency by the reflection. So what is the frequency received by the wall? It will reflect the same frequency. Now wall becomes a source. Wall becomes a source. Say the frequency received by the wall which you calculated was nu1. That was what? Nu1. Nu naught was the original frequency of the car, horn of the car, nu1. Now wall becomes a source which is stationary, and driver becomes the observer which is moving towards the wall. So you calculate what? Nu2, the frequency heard by the driver. So one frequency that will be heard by the driver is what? Nu naught. The other frequency that will be heard by the driver is what? Nu2. You will take the difference of the two, and that will be the beat frequency heard by it. So is that clear? One more thing I would like to clear you about the Doppler's effect is that there is no effect of distance. Like see, something is moving very fast and is quite far away from the observer. Observer is quite away from the source and the velocities of the two are very high. Is that clear? The change of frequency will be same as if even the distance between them would have been very less, or if both of them they are stationary. Both of them they are stationary. Then in that case, what will happen? There will be no change of frequency. There will be no change of frequency. The observer will hear the same frequency as the actual frequency of the source. So this is my first sprint today, and in the next sprints, I will keep more questions, and I'll try to make you clear in these 4 or 5 days really what is the target of the examiner. Nowadays, in the very current years, in the last to last year, what has been the target of the examiner? So when you revise it, during the revision, which are the points where you have to focus upon, and what are the points which need not to be focused, or what are the points where you need not to waste your energy. So in my next sprint, I'll come up with more questions, with more philosophy, and with more the nature of the examiner regarding the questions. All right, have a great day.